Hey y'all, my name is LeeAnna and I am a coach and mentor for women entrepreneurs in their startup phase. I am so excited to share a soulful conversation with Pearl today.
Sunshine, good to see you again. Had to walk out to let you back in. Stuck in a storm of a relationship. Lost my fire. Oh, and I forgot about me for way too long. But it's rolled on. Now there ain't no shade around here.
Hey everybody, it's Pearl Sorenzo with Women Successful Living, and welcome to another fun episode of Soulful Self-Care Conversations. And today I get to introduce you to somebody that I met when I went to Vegas a few weeks. Actually, it's been a couple of months now. It feels like it was yesterday, but we went to a great event with a friend of ours named Ati, and so I want you to meet my friend LeeAnna. She is a military spouse, serial entrepreneur, and founder of Biz Bites Collective, a mentorship space built for women creating something of their own. She helps new solopreneurs find direction and build their businesses by coaching them through systems and operation setup so they have more time to do what they love. And let me tell you, as somebody who's been in business for a little while, when you start your business, having the right setup is going to give you the great glow up you want to start when you're doing your business. And I can tell you, as someone who did not have those pieces in place, getting them in place after you've already started a business, like overwhelming and gets crazy. So having somebody like LeeAnna to help walk you through that is what we're going to talk about today. So LeeAnna, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited. It was so much fun to meet you. We went to the BU brand event that Ati Gritzman had put together. It was a lot of fun. Amazing, amazing entrepreneurs like yourself and myself in the room. And, everybody's a different space in their business. So I love that I got to meet so many women, especially you, and have you come on today because there's one of the things that I love about what I do in coaching is, especially when women come to my retreat. So our retreats are so transformational. Our retreats are so different than your retreat where you're just going to go hang out with girlfriends and have a cup of tea or do a little dance party, right? Our retreat is you come in, we're going to greet you with some fun the first night, but the next morning, man, when we wake you up at 7:30 in the morning, we're starting hard. We're going in deep. And my retreats have been so amazing. I've lost some of my service providers. Like I lost my dog groomer. She came to our retreat and she closed up her business and she went and led the nomad life. I have another one of my clients who came to retreat. She closed up, started her business just in April, I think April or May of this year, and she's probably going to meet her first 100,000 income in her first year of business. So it's so much fun and transformational. And that's why having somebody like you to talk with them, especially on my podcast, but even when we can invite amazing coaches like yourself that can help us catapult what we want in our life. It is so transformational. And I'm so glad that we're going to have this conversation today and talk about, when you start your business, like what are some of the things that we should make sure we have in place, especially when it comes to systems. But if you listen to my show and everybody's listening, go, so Pearl, when are you going to ask the big question? So here we go. We always start. I don't have, if you're new to the show, first of all, welcome. Grab a cup of tea. If you're driving, just turn us up loud so that you can take everything in and go back and read the show notes later. But we only have one question we start the show off with every time. And that is, I want to introduce little LeeAnna. I want to get to meet her for a minute. I want to know a little bit about her. I want to know what was she like growing up? What did she want to be when she grew up? And how does it correlate to what you're doing today? So will you introduce us to little LeeAnna for a minute?
Absolutely. So younger me was a very angry child. I'm a lot more calm, a lot of self-work. I remember that about my childhood is like everything made me angry. Um, and I think a lot of that stemmed from just sensory overwhelm, which a lot of high achievers suffer from. So I am a high achiever. I've always, especially since I was a child, just climb, climb, climb. What's the next step? And even when I was 6, 7 years old, it was grades, it was school, it was, oh, I wonder if I could turn this into a little business. Maybe I could sell these to my friends. And um, yeah, that was like the beginning, like when I realized as far as being an entrepreneur, that's what it was like. And I grew up in a very small town. So I did not have a lot of role models for where I'm at now. And I really feel like representation matters and that particular aspect, because had I had the representation, I would have known that, as a child, you have varying paths that you can take. But I was definitely one of those ones who grew up in a upper poor level family, lower middle class, like right on that line. And so for me, the dream was always, okay, you go to college, you're a first generation college student, you get that career and you build, and that's how your life is going to pan out. Spoiler alert, that's not what happened. I was on that path, and I kind of realized at some point that I hated it. And I'm sure that was, like, in the middle of meeting my husband and things like that, but younger me was just a part of, like, older me being high achieving. It just meant taking a different path.
So we have a little bit in common there. So I love that you said, and so I always love to ask this question because it ends up correlating to what we do today in so many different ways. I think one or two times it was totally different. And what you said, like that higher achiever, that's like those things show up in our lives, different traits that we have show up, and it does come up in our adult life. And what you said was like creating businesses when you're younger, and then here's what you're doing today. You're helping people, women and people put their business plans together and put systems in place, which I know we're going to dive into. But one of the areas we also have a little bit of common is how we grew up. I started in a small town. I grew up in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina area, Swansboro. My parents moved to West Palm Beach, Florida when I was a rising sophomore in high school. And I didn't have, like you said, growing up, I didn't have those mentors or those people to help look out to be like, I can do something more than just college. And unfortunately for me, blessing for you, my parents, my dad got his GED. My mom barely got out of school before she ran off and got married with my father. So I didn't have the example of what college. So I should have been the first generation college student. My brother ended up being that because my parents didn't know how to get me there. And I didn't, unfortunately, have the best guidance counselors for that. So at 17 years old, I graduated high school early. My parents had told me, you need to get a job if you want to go shopping with your friends. So I was babysitting early, started Kmart, went straight to Winn-Dixie, like work, 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 work. And then when it came time getting out of high school, my dad and I had my own car, pay my own insurance. My dad's like, oh, by the way, you have to start paying rent now. I'm like, and you have a curfew. I'm like, curfew, rent. I'm acting like an adult at 17, out of here. So I went in that working world, and about maybe a year and a half later, my parents moved to California. They asked me if I wanted to go. I'm like, why not? I'm 18. Let's go to California. Sounded really cool, And I get out there and I hated it. I did not like it. I did not enjoy it. The people, the whole thing. And I met my husband probably a month before I was ready to move back to Florida off on my own. And the rest is history. I met him when I was 19. We got married, and I think I was like 22. So, and I've been very blessed because he's the one who's pushed me to go after these dreams of being like, you don't have to be behind a 9 to 5 world. You can be an entrepreneur. You can do both if you want to do both, and so here I am, we've been together 41 years now, doing the things I love to do, helping women to see that same thing, that you can work a corporate job or that job if you want to, but you can also have your dreams and accomplish it. Or like when I mentioned my client earlier, you could say, I want to give up the corporate world. I want to do what I love to do, which is what I've also done myself, and start doing a business plan and creating a business. And so we have a little bit in common there because, again, my parents, just like your parents, the income level and everything just wasn't there. So I love that you shared. And thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for introducing us to her, because I think it's always important. And those that are listening, I think it's always important to go back and see where you've come from, and like do that annual audit, like in your life. Like, people don't start doing their vision boards till January. I start them now. I hold vision events. In fact, on the 14th of December, we're holding a online vision event because I want you to look at it now, because the holidays is a little slower. We're not doing too much in our businesses and our work. So why not start working on your vision so that when January comes, you're like, okay, I haven't looked at it in a couple weeks, but I need to get started. And you already have it together. And then I come in, I help you create that plan, like put the puzzle pieces together for the vision. And so I want us to dive into how you come into that world, because there are many women that are starting businesses, and I know there's some men on here too that are probably listening to us. But when you think about somebody starting a business, right? What are some of the first things that you, when you sit down with your client, you say, these are the most important steps you have to put in place first? What would you guide us to that?
So, my clients don't typically start with like, "Oh, well, I haven't quite started my business yet." I love having those people. We just have general conversations. But when I do end up sitting down, it's with people who they've started this business, right? And they're sitting there and they're going, "Okay, well, I'm doing this, but I just feel so unorganized. I feel stressed. I don't know what to tackle." And I say, okay, well, I do a mini audit for every single person that I sit down with first. I send them through a list of questions and I will say, what are the first 1 to 2 things that would make you feel lighter, would give you back more time, right? That's where we start. So it's very individualized for each person. But honestly, and this is so funny, most of my clients, it ends up being very similar. It is, well, I'm spending hours in my email and I'm just rewriting things. And, I could be like doing the things that I love, right? Which is not writing those emails. And so that's like our foundation. Okay, well, we can do this in a couple different ways. We can get you here, 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 or we can tackle this issue. Like it's just where you want to end up. So typically, it's an organization issue. It's a systems issue of I don't know what software I need to be using. I don't have a starting point for this. So that will always be my starting point with anybody that I sit down with is tell me where you are and what is causing you the most stress. And usually it is an organization or system issue.
Yeah, and I can tell you, like for me, that's so true. Like, I remember, there was somebody that I had worked with previously where they talked about you need to get all the back end stuff. Well, Excel and all that, yeah, I need my accounting system, but I that back end stuff I don't need first. I need like you talk about like systems. I need to be organized. I need to feel like I am spending my time where I'm supposed to spend my time. And this is what like when I work with my clients, and I'm not a business coach, it's just like I help them come up with the idea, and then I'm like, I refer them out. I refer them to people like Ati and those people that are going to help them and like you get those things in place so that they can feel like they have some organization in their life, right? Because it can be overwhelming as a business owner. And the one thing that I learned early on from doing, like you said, I did an audit with somebody a few years ago, was like, what is my value? That when I work with a client, what's my value? I know that I'm a $300 an hour coach. Like when I dive deep into you, we're going to go into some deep stuff. And so for me to do an email, like you said, it's like, it's not valuable to me. It's not someplace I should be putting my energy. So because I knew that, one of the things I didn't do was I was lacking doing newsletters. I was lacking email. So I wasn't nurturing my list, right? And then, so then when I went back and I kind of reevaluated, okay, at least once a quarter, I'll go in and say what's working, what's not working. I realized I need to nurture my list, but I hate sitting on idea writing stuff. And you can tell me all about AI and stuff. I'll go in, that's where I started. But even taking it from the AI kind of ideation and putting it in place is like so much time. And I knew my time is valuable somewhere else. So I actually brought on an amazing person and be like, hey, can you help me manage my Google site? Can you help me manage my emails? And I'm telling you, LeeAnna, since Crystal's been doing my email list, I want to say, I think we're going into our fourth or fifth month together where she's doing my emails consistently every single week. Can I tell you, my clicks to open have changed dramatically versus when I was doing it myself, hodgepodge here or there. And it was like that aha moment going, okay, it's so worth the investment that I'm paying her to do that for me because I'm showing up and people are like going, oh, what's Pearl going to tell me this week? And so it's been such a worthwhile investment. And it's also relieves me of that time. In addition to that, like hiring a VA, there's certain things that I want to put in place right now. Talk about systems. I'm changing systems, which I'll ask you about this in just a second. But because I am changing systems, I needed help like moving things over. It's so much work moving things over. So I hired a VA who was my client I mentioned earlier. It's going to make her first $100,000 a year. and she's here in the US. And people say, well, why aren't you just getting a VA from whatever country? And I'm like, because I want somebody here that works the same hours I do. I don't believe in like if you want to go pay someone in whatever country you're paying them the rate you're paying them. I don't believe in that. And so I would pay them that rate I feel like they get anyways. And so and I know that's not good for them in those countries because they get a different level. So I wanted to get somebody that I knew here in the States that I trusted, that I would know that if I need anything and they would have my back in my business, right? And so that's when I hired my VA Monty. And it's like, so now that I have her doing that stuff, because doing systems, that takes energy and time too, right? So I was like, I want to work on working with my clients, bringing more women on that want to say yes to their lives instead of sitting over here working on a system, plugging in this or that, or cleaning up an email list, right? And so I love what you said, like the organization part, because that once I got into that and bought into that and got organized, I become more focused in where my business and what I want to do, right? And so, what are your thoughts on that before I ask you a question I want to ask you?
No, we're fully aligned on that. I worked as a VA for several years with a military spouse company. Amazing. That's kind of how I landed where I am now and like how I got started. And being a VA, I can tell you, like, there's a lot that goes into it, but VAs, not to toot my own horn, but VAs are worth their weight in gold, right? Because they do the things you don't want to do. They do the things that will give you back your time and help you feel a little bit less stress in your day-to-day life. So like for you, it was the emails, right? And consistency matters. Consistency matters when you're growing your platform, when you want your outreach to be so big, but when you're not doing it, your stuff just doesn't go out and people might see it, they might not see it. And, so having that VA, having those systems in place that even if it's a system, a process where you decide, like, okay, I need help, where does that help align? I can help coach you through that to where it's just a very simple process of let's walk you through this. Let's talk about the ins and outs. Let's talk about how you're going to feel about, taking this off your plate. For me, social media is mine, right? I have, my coaching and mentorship that I offer, but we also have a mobile bookshop. And I will tell you, it's night and day with my social media when I do these because as much as I love Biz Bites, the social media portion on that side is a little bit harder because it's always, well, what lands better with, the women who need to see this, the women who need to get in on this. And then the bookshop is just the bookshop. It's so easy. It's like, here's some videos of books and here's, what we're discussing. That is so much easier to land. And it's light, it's carefree. I'm over it in like 10 minutes. Everything's good. But for social media with, Biz Bites, it is okay, like I think so much more about it. And I'm like, when I can offload this to where like I had this plan, right? And then I set it aside and give it to someone else to actually like create and put on there, it's going to save me so much time. So I think it's the same as, with your emails. You create the content and then you hand it off. Here, please post this so I can get back to doing what I love to do. And that's sometimes what simple systems are, right? You do a little bit of what you love and then you hand off the rest.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree with you because it's all up, it's like what do I love to do? I at first it's kind of funny to talk about social media. At first I was like, oh, and it sounds so silly because I love talking on stage and everything. And I was like doing videos and B-roll. I'm like, oh, what do I have to do? And it was so funny because I had that full circle moment with my client yesterday because I'm like, you need to do more videos. And she's like, oh, I go, I know what you're gonna say. I don't want to do it. I got to put my makeup on. I'm like, you don't have to do any of that. I'm like, seriously, it doesn't let them see who you are. Let them see the real you. You don't have to do any of that. And I'm like, I said, I've been there, done that. I just go now. I just create it. When I went on a cruise in August with my husband, I'm like, I need you to video this. And he's never been in videos. And there's one, if you go look at my Instagram page, there's one of my husband and I dancing. We're in these robes. And he's like going, you can tell on his face, like, what am I supposed to do? But it was so much fun to do it with him. And so it was a blast. But so let's talk a little bit like systems. So when like I know like CRMs, accounting system, like what are some of the systems as a business owner that you feel are really important ones to make sure that like they're a no-brainer. You have to have them in place. What are some of those? What do they look like?
Okay, the very first one is your organization, right? Where is everything that lives in your brain when you need to dump it? Where's that going to live? That's going to live in a very specific area. So I personally use Asana. That is one of my very favorite ones. As far as living in the computer, it goes with me everywhere, right? If I'm sitting there at like my kids' baseball game and I'm like, oh, you know what, it's really slow. Let me just check my to-do list. What was I thinking about? Or I have this shower thought, right? When I'm not in a shower, it's on my phone and I can just put it in there and I can come back to that later. Asana is absolutely amazing for that. I try not to use notes because notes, as much as I love the notes, I just forget that it's there. I'm like, oh, where did I think I housed it here? And, so having a main hub for your organization for any thought that you have as part of your business is really, really important. And so Asana is really great for that. Some people are a little more visual. So Trello would probably be, I think, the number one in terms of almost like a vision board, right? You can put pictures, you can put all the things, and it's very, very pretty. You design it how you want to do it. And it's free. These are both free. And then my other absolute favorite one for organization, and it sounds ridiculous, but it's my whiteboard at home. I posted about it probably last week, and it's just the B-roll footage of me writing on my whiteboard of like all the things I want to get done today, because I am a person who gets so much satisfaction of like, okay, I wrote it down and I did it today, and now I'm going to erase it or I'm going to check box it. Like that is literally the best for me. So very, very beginning, I would say house your ideas in one single platform that works for you, whether you're a visual person or if you're okay with text, or maybe it is your whiteboard at home because you work from home. So that's the starting point, I would say, for that kind of software.
Yeah, I love that. I love that you talk. I never thought about Asana. I'm a Trello girl, so I do use Trello, and I can access it from my phone. But what you said about notes on your phone is so true. It's like I put it in there, and I have to go back. What did I call that note? And Siri doesn't do it the way I want to do it. It's like I got what is it called? The only thing that's okay. This is going to sound really funny for the listeners. The only thing that's in my notes that's easily seen because it's very much labeled. Only read this note if I'm not here anymore, and it's my funeral is completely planned out. Like I'm like everything is planned out, right? I'm such a planner. But everything else, I'm like, I can't find it in there. So if I was open up, like, I have to type in what would I have called that? Like, oh, but I never thought about Asana for that too. So I have to check that out as well. Yeah. And whiteboards, I'm like you, like I have in front of me, I have pictures. Like I take my vision board and I break it up into quarters and I put pictures in front of me so I can see and go, okay, I did that. I did that. Because I'm a check off girl too, or cross it off. That's been done kind of thing. Hence why I love doing when I do my vision boards, I give you the option. We can do a vision purse or we can do a vision magazine. So it's not the typical board. I want something that can be physically with you so you feel the energy and you can like take off or rip out a page, be like, oh, that's done. That's done. So there's a lot of satisfaction in that feeling of, like you said, checking it off or erasing it. Yeah, 100%.
Yes,
So,
so much
yeah,
satisfaction.
it's so much. So let's go from those kind of systems. Now, let's talk about CRM systems because there are so many options out there. I mean, there's that go, you know what? Then they take and they whiteboard it off, and other people create stuff. I'm in the middle of switching over one to right now. I'm loving it. It's called Funnel Gorgeous, and the reason why I like it is because it is a version of that Go High Level one, except that it's more tailored to coaches, which it's tailored to things as a coach that we want, right? And the funnels and things like that. So it's interesting, and I'm going to share my wisdom and experience to those that are listening because I had as I talked to a company earlier last year, and they were supposed to be able to be, they were merging into everything I wanted. I wanted everything in one spot. I wanted my website in one spot, my CRM, my payments, everything I can manage in one space. I was led to believe it was going to come, and I switched over with the belief that it was coming. It never came to fruition, and it was becoming more expensive than what all the pieces of the pie that I had left behind. I didn't get rid of some of the pieces for the pie that I left behind because I was worried that this was going to happen. So now here I am. I was at a point I was paying almost $600 a month for systems, for CRMs, for new email, all that stuff, right? And be able to go down and find a system, it's actually bring me down to like $150 a month. I think by the time I finish everything up, it's going to maybe cost me $200 a month for everything. So I'm going to save over $400 a month. And as a business owner, savings like that is huge. right? So when you are working with your clients and you think about CRMs and emails and things like that, how do you help them decide what works best for them? Like what is there you said you do audits, right? So through that audit, is there a way you can help that business owner be like, okay, this is the best thing and this is why?
Yes. So we start with what is your business, right? Because, like you said, the one you're moving to is tailored for coaches. So, not all CRMs are created equal. I think if we have any experience with that, we know that, right? Like, I feel like HubSpot is like a general overall CRM, right? You can use it for free. They have great training. It is a great starting point, I think, no matter where you are in your business. If you're just starting out and you're like, well, I need somewhere for these clients to kind of live so I don't lose track of them, and then you can kind of track other little odds and ends on the free plan. But if you're a hairstylist, right, those are like honeybook based for the most part. Anything that you can provide some sort of reservation with. So we start with what is your business, and then we go through a list of questions that, do you take reservations? Do you have like bookings that you want paid for out of this system? Because each CRM has those different features. And then it's how do you want this set up, and go through the benefits of that. And then, we can, depending on your classification of business, if you're retail or your service provider or somewhere in the middle of that, then we can say, okay, well, these are kind of the best options. And for me, I always just say, like, what do you want this to feel like at the end of the day? Because that guides us more than anything.
Oh, I love that. What do you want it to feel like at the end of the day? Because I think that's the one piece of the pie that I never asked myself as a business owner. Like, what do I want it to feel like at the, like you said, at the end of the day? Like, what does it feel, look, and smell like? And I think that's so powerful because, especially if you go back to organization, I want to feel like I'm organized so that I know what systems I put in place. It's going to give me the best customer service that I can give to my clients as well. On top of that, and at the client experience, I'm so big about client experience, and it goes back to, starting as a teenager at Kmart and then working at Winn-Dixie, the retail whole space about the client is always right and having that client experience. And so even in my world today, like even down to my retreats, I want the experience at my retreat to be fun, lighthearted, transformational, all those things. And so my team is always like, you're doing too much. Like I'm like, oh, I think we need this little gadget here. I think they would like this piece. I've got really really good. Like we used to do this thing where we'd get sponsors and we'd ask them for like 20 items, and we would do this what we called it the pillow fairy. So the pillow fairy got retired because it was becoming too much work for my ambassadors. So it's like I don't want work for them, right? So now we just narrow it down to go, what's the easiest thing that when you travel home from the retreat, because the other part was they couldn't get it all in their luggage, right? So when you travel home from the retreat, what's the easiest thing? And I mean, I think you can agree. We just went to the Autis event. We got a lot of great stuff, and I'm like, I can't get some of this in my luggage. So it's like, what's the easiest thing? And we started coming up with travel things. Like this year, our sponsorships we have open is the packing cubes, right? So you put your label on packing cubes. We have Bluetooth speakers because people always take a Bluetooth speaker somewhere somehow with them. We have we have a sponsor, Sonia. She's a travel person. She's doing our I actually bought one off of that A store because I saw it on a TikTok thing. And basically it's a so the dining tray on your airplane and behind the seat, you put this thing over it and it's got these pockets. And it's like the table's clean, and I'm like, I could put my computer in there, I could put everything can go in there, right? So now Sonia is sponsoring that this year. They look beautiful, right? So it's like, what can we put together that people can travel with? And so socks, Anne-Marie did socks because I always wear socks when I get on a plane. I'm that girl who puts on slides, get on a plane, throw on my socks, and and to be comfy because I'm your best seat partner. So anybody's traveling, when you find me on an airplane, you want to sit next to me because before the plane takes off, I'm asleep. It doesn't matter what time of the day is, I'm sound asleep. So that's me, right? But going back to like this, how it feels, I want to feel organized. And so, even down that client experience. And so I love that we're talking about this. And I'm looking, I'm like, oh my God, our time is flying by. So so if somebody's listening to us right now, and the end of they're going, okay, I've started my business, or I'm in my business a couple of years. what's one thing before or within like between now and like the end of January, what's one thing they can do to help organize their business and or their systems?
I think it starts with, and this is, I'm always going to go back to feelings, right? How do you feel right now with what you're doing? Does it feel chaotic? Does it feel like this one particular area makes you want to curl up in a ball and just avoid everything and just cover yourself with a blanket and you're just not getting it done? Like, is that the feeling? And if that's the feeling, then that is the one section that you focus on, and you break it down into little chunks and you identify, what is it that, makes me feel this way? Is it something here, like I just have this work piled up? Is it that I don't have somewhere for all of this to live? Is it, my sticky notes are like this tall and then there's some half finished to do lists in there and I just feel like I haven't accomplished anything? Like, what is leading you to this feeling? And then you start to break it down into these little bitty chunks, right? And inside of that one thing. Because as soon as you tackle one thing, you feel so much better, right? It's the same as with that whiteboard. I wrote it on there, and it was this one thing I worked on, and then I wiped it off, and it's so pretty, it's gone, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. It's that same feeling of relief, and it's going to carry you into the next thing, and you're going to feel lighter, and you're going to feel better about tackling whatever it is that you're doing.
I love that pick that one thing and and ask for help. I would say, reach out to LeeAnna, ask for help and get some guidance in that. And it's never a bad thing to ask for help. And the other thing that I love, I forget what's called, eat the elephant first or bite the whatever it's called, but I always like to do the hard thing first. And last night I coach at a nonprofit and I talked to the teens after I'm done with the moms. And the kids came in and they were talking about homework and this. I'm like, you know what? Do the homework you don't like to do it first. Just get it out of the way. Because what happens is the rest is easy. And they kind of looked at me. I'm like, I know I sound silly like an old adult, and I'm older, much older than you. But I'm telling you, if nothing else, when I'm not here and you're in your 30s, you're gonna be like, oh, Miss Pearl told me to eat the hard stuff first. So they kind of chuckled, right? So I think that's so important. So LeeAnna, tell everybody how they can reach out to you because there's probably some that are listening going, oh my gosh, I need to chat with her. I need to get organized. How do they reach out to you? And we'll put everything in the show notes too. And if there's anything you want to share or give away, feel free to do that too.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am on social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook. My Instagram, it's at LeeAnna period Taylor. It's very, very simple. I didn't want it to be complicated. I do answer my messages. It's me, it's not somebody else. I do also have a link that you can book consultation. 20 minutes, we can kind of talk it out. I can send you forms. It's very, very simple. And then I know we were talking about if I had an offer earlier, and I did just launch a private Facebook group that does have some free resources in there. So if you want to get in on that, I do have that available as well, and I can put those links in there as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get we'll make sure we get those in there. So if I don't have them already, send them to me and I'll get them into the show notes as well. But we'll make sure people can get access to you that way because having access to LeeAnna is going to help you become organized. And then you're going to have a conversation with her and she's going to help you make sure you've got the right systems in place. And so I want to thank you, LeeAnna, for being part of our journey today. Thank you for coming on and pouring into us as well as introducing us to little LeeAnna. I appreciate you doing that. And before you go, so anybody that's new to the show, we have these fun things we do. They're called our Better Questions, Better Life cards. My friend Carol Gill and her friend Diane Allen created these cards. I think there's like 70 or 77 cards. I use them. I take them to the coaching sessions I do as well. But I'm going to shuffle them. LeeAnna's going to tell me when to stop, and her and I are going to answer the card together. So here we go. Tell me when to stop, LeeAnna.
And stop.
All right. So our question we're answering is, what am I worth? Oh, that's a good one. What am I worth? Um, I think for me, when I hear that, I have two different thoughts. So personally, I'm worth everything that I give to myself first. I have to give to me so that I overflow and show up for those that I want to the way I want to. And before, if you met me, 10 years ago, I would have been like, I'm the recovering people pleasing addict. I would have helped you organize your sock drawer, organize your business, whatever it was. I would have said, yes, let's go do it. So I think to me, I'm worth putting me first and saying yes to me first. For my business and for my clients, I think I'm so the worth that I give to my clients is life changing because I see them do things like close a business and start making the soaps. I see them, find somebody who was missing in this world and unfortunately is no longer with us, but was part of the process of finding somebody who unfortunately we lost in this world. And had they not closed up their business, who was my dog groomer, by the way, I don't know that that would have happened. So I'm worth everything that I give to the world because there's so much that 6 degrees of separation. It's so factual and true that I watch it happen. And what about you, LeeAnna?
I love that so much. That's so powerful. I'm like, oh, yes, yes to all of these things, right? Um, this question is so not necessarily hard, but I think as women who have, feminine energy, we have masculine, feminine energy. It is what it is. But when we embody that, right, like it is a hard question to answer because a lot of the times we place worth in different areas, right? Well, I'm only worth this, or I'm not worth that, or, I'm struggling with these things. So it's really, really hard to define worth. But I would say for myself, I am worth the word yes. Yes to anything that I want to try. Yes to living an unreasonable life. Yes to wanting to build something that goes beyond what I grew up in without representation. Yes to being everything that I want to embody and the type of person that I want to be and the good that I want to put out into the world. And I think that goes for most women. Yes to all the things that you want to be. You are worth it.
That is so powerful. That's actually why I changed my whole title. And I have to give that, I need to give credit where credit is due. Ati and I had her come do a review with me on some things I was going through. And she's like, what is this, all these words on your title? She's like, what is all this wording? Like, she says, it sounds like, bah, 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 bah. I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, she goes, you're an F and say yes to your life coach. I'm like, you know what? I am a say yes to your life coach. So when you said yes, it's like it just lines up so well with everything that I do and I teach. And I know that's what you do for your clients. And so I want to thank you so much again for being on with us, LeeAnna. And I want to remind everybody before you head out for your day or whatever you're doing today that you come into this world, you're a little rough on the outside, that shell you have to open up. But as you open up that shell, you're going to go find your inner pearl to greatness and you're going to start saying yes to yourself so that you can show up as a Shiro you are, stronger, happier, empowered, radiant, and original self. Have an amazing day and thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Yeah.
All clean. Why to